this whole idea that illegal immigrants aren't taking the jobs of Americans, it just simply isn't true, right? And it also has a negative impact on Black Americans the most. But I want to first get into the fact that overall, they are taking the jobs of everyday U.S. citizens. And I want to get into that, and I want to prove that point by pulling up a Democratic news party media outlet, which is the New York Post. The New York Post, as we all know, is a DNC media outlet, right? And in this article right here, alone and exploited, migrant children work brutal jobs across the US. What they're attempting to do here is pull to your emotional heartstrings, right? That's what they're attempting to do, to get you to feel bad for these exploited migrant children, right? But in reality, what ends up happening is that they're just simply exposing the fact that they're coming here and taking American jobs, and they're holding jobs that your children wouldn't even be able to hold, due to the fact that they are American citizens, yet they're able to work these jobs solely because of the fact that they're illegal immigrants, and they're able to get money under the table, and everything is shh, shh, hush, hush, right? So let's jump into this article, because this is actually very shocking. The degree to which New York Times actually exposed the truth about illegal immigrants taking the jobs of American citizens, right? So once again, the title reads, Alone and Exploited, Migrant Children Work Brutal Jobs Across the US. And when you start scrolling down, this is the first thing that comes up. Christian works a construction job instead of going to school. He is 14 years old. Once again, this is meant to make you feel bad. But the reality is that this construction job that this 14-year-old by the name of Christian works, instead of going to school, played a small violin, this is a job that should be worked by an American citizen, by an adult, a grown man. But instead, Christian, 14 years old, is getting money under the table to work that job for significantly less. That's why you don't have that job right now. Not only do you not have that job, it's not available to you at all, even if you wanted it. Even if you wanted it, you couldn't get it. When you scroll down some more, it continues to read, Carolina packages Cheerios at night in a factory. She is 15. 15 years old. Once again, this is a job that your 15-year-old would not be able to get because your 15-year-old is a United States citizen. But because Carolina is an illegal immigrant, she can work this job and get money under the table for far less than what the Cheerios company would have had to pay you, an adult, if you work there. And then you scroll some more, it says Wander starts looking for day labor jobs before sunrise. He is 13 and he's looking for jobs, day labor jobs, before sunrise because he knows he's going to find them. Once again, more under the table money. Now let's get into the article. The article reads as such. It was almost midnight in Grand Rapids, Michigan, but inside the factory, everything was bright. A conveyor belt carried bags of Cheerios past a cluster of young workers. I'm going to read that a bit again. A conveyor belt carried bags of Cheerios past a cluster of young workers. One was 15 years old. Her name is Carolina Yoke, who came to the United States on her own last year to live with relatives she never met. About every 10 seconds, she stuffed a sealed plastic bag of cereal into a passing yellow carton. It could be dangerous work with fast moving pulleys and gears that had torn off fingers and ripped open a woman's scalp. Let's stop right there. They're trying to express to you how dangerous it is working at this factory where you package Cheerios. because when you're packing these boxes of Cheerios, the pulley is going by so fast that it has gears that can tear your fingers off and can rip your scalp. I'm assuming what happened in this situation is a woman's hair got caught in the conveyor belt and ended up ripping her scalp. So what does that tell you? Outside of the fact that, once again, this is a job that should be worked by Americans, this also tells you and shows you that this is a mildly dangerous job that requires a certain level of pay that the Cheerio company is not willing to pay its citizens, but it'll be willing to pay Carolina because she's an illegal immigrant. They're paying her under the table, and they know she won't complain out of fear of being deported. So once again, in an attempt to expose the exploitation of migrant children, this New York Times article actually exposes the fact that these jobs that you all should be working, American citizens, men and women, you all should be working these jobs and getting a fair wage for working these jobs, but instead it's going to those who are crossing the border illegally. Let's carry on, because they continue to expose themselves. The factory was full of underage workers like Carolina. I repeat, the factory was full of underage workers like Carolina who crossed the southern border by themselves and were now spending late hours between hazardous machinery in violation of child labor laws. At nearby plants, other children were tending giant ovens to make Chewy and Nature Valley granola bars and packing bags of Lucky Charms and Cheetos, all of them working for the processing giant Heartside Food Solutions, which would ship these products around the country. So they're telling you here that these factories are literally filled with children. They're filled with children instead of you all. They're filled with children. And remember, this is in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And we're going to move away from Grand Rapids for a little bit as I continue to read this article, but we're going to come back to Grand Rapids, Michigan, and look at the unemployment rate concerning Black Americans, because once again, illegal immigration does impact Black Americans the most as it pertains to how much it disproportionately affects people across the country. It disproportionately affects Black Americans the most. And we're going to get into some data concerning the unemployment rate of Black Americans in Grand Rapids, Michigan. So let's get back into this article once again so that I can get through this and actually get to the data, right? To show you how much of a negative impact it's actually having. And there are 407 of you in the live stream right now. Please hit the like button if you haven't already. Sometimes I get tired and feel sick, Carolina said after a shift in November. Her stomach often hurts, and she was unsure if that was because of the lack of sleep, the stress of incessant roar, the stress from the incessant roar of the machines, or the worries she had for her family in Guatemala. But I'm getting used to it. You know, I hate to sound mean, but boo-hoo. Boo-hoo. It sounds like what she's dealing with is just regular stuff that adults deal with all the time. How many of you all, while you're working your jobs, are stressed out, tired, irritated, have a headache, and just simply want to go home as you worry about a million and one things concerning your family and your household, right? This isn't pulling at my heartstrings. This is actually upsetting me because, once again, these are jobs that should be going to American citizens, but they're not. That's not what's happening. These companies are exploiting the migrant crisis that Joe Biden created in order to line their pockets up by paying these folks under the table money that they would not have otherwise paid you, because for you to work this job, they would have to pay you significantly more than what they're paying these children to work these jobs. How these companies aren't facing stiff penalties that can possibly collapse their business, I don't know. And the fact that that's not happening shows that the Biden crisis is 100% completely by design. So let's carry on with this article because it does expose quite a bit in here, quite a bit. So let's carry on. These workers are part of a excuse me, these workers are part of a new economy of exploitation. Migrant children who have been coming into the United States without their parents in record numbers are ending up in some of the most punishing jobs in the country, a New York Times investigation found. I want to stop there. And the reason I want to stop there is because they're saying that these children are finding themselves in punishing jobs. They're finding themselves there as if that's not what they wanted. That's literally what they came here for. They literally came here just for that and no other reason. And on top of the fact that they came here just for that, they knew and understood before they got here that this underground economy, right? These workers are part of a new economy of exploitation. It's not an economy of exploitation. It's an illegal immigrant underground economy that they knew existed before they got here. But that's why they came here, because they knew and understood that once I cross the border and I'm able to enter into the United States, these jobs will be accessible to me. If they did not think and know that these jobs were accessible to them once they got here, they wouldn't have come in the first place. They already knew they were going to get these jobs when they get here. Not because they got on the phone back in Guatemala or Mexico, or wherever they came from, and they talked to or emailed the Cheerio company, but word of mouth spreading all throughout Latin America, where people are finding out, hey, all you got to do is get there. And these major companies will hire you. It'll be for cheaper than what they pay American citizens, but it'll be a heck of a lot better than us staying here. So the fact that we're going to undermine American citizens, who cares? Because they don't care. They understand what they're doing and they don't care. So the fact that we're going to undermine American citizens, well, who cares? You get in where you fit in, and I'm about to get in. I wanted to make sure to highlight that point, because we're not going to sit here and pretend and act like these children are being exploited. That's not what's happening here. They made that choice to come here and to work these jobs on purpose. Nobody forced anybody to do anything. No one's forcing them to do this. They're doing it on their own. Now let's get back into this article so we can expose, or I should say I can expose some more of what's happening here, because once again, this lie has permeated for too long. It's permeated for too long that these so-called migrants are working jobs that Americans don't want to work. That just simply is not true. That is a lie. They're working jobs that these major companies are not willing to pay Americans a proper wage to work. That is what's happening here. Now let's carry on and get back into this article. This shadow workforce extends across industries in every state, flouting child labor laws that have been in place for nearly a century. 12-year-old roofers in Florida and Tennessee. Shout out to the South. I told you all. Some of you in Tennessee, Mississippi as well. I'm getting ready to read Mississippi off. Y'all thought that migrant crisis wasn't going to affect you guys. Oh no, it's coming down to the South as well. Alabama, you all better watch out. Underage slaughterhouse workers in Delaware, Mississippi, and North Carolina. Children swinging swaying planks of wood on overnight shifts in South Dakota. So all across the country, this child labor exploitation of illegal immigrants is going on, from Florida to Tennessee, from Delaware to Mississippi, to North Carolina and South Dakota. All over the country, this is happening. Largely from Central America, the children are driven by economic desperation that was worsened by the illness of 2020. The labor force has been slowly growing for almost a decade. But get this, let me zoom in. I'm going to read this again. I need to zoom in all the way for you guys for this part. I'm going to read that paragraph again. Largely from Central America, the children are driven by economic desperation that was worsened by the illness of 2020. This labor force has been slowly growing for almost a decade, but it has exploded since 2021. I repeat, but this child labor has exploded since 2021. Can someone in the live chat please tell me what happened in 2021 that would cause an explosion of illegal immigrant children working at these factories that you should be working at, but you're not because these jobs are being taken from you? Somebody please tell me what happened in 2021 that caused such a huge explosion. I'm curious because I'm just struggling to find out what happened in 2021. Joe Biden happened in 2021. Thank you very much, Deneen Grant. Biden became president. And once he became president, he opened the floodgates to illegal immigration by having the border open intentionally. His open border policies is what caused this to happen. And I charge him with doing this deliberately. I charge Joe Biden with doing this deliberately because he did. And now you're seeing an explosion of illegal immigrant children working jobs that American citizens should be working. Joe Biden did this on purpose. And this is why you also see, you don't hear anything about these companies paying the price for this. You don't hear that at all, do you? No, you don't.